Hello, and welcome to another Coaches Collab where we have real talk about real pets and our real reasons for becoming certified holistic pet health coaches. I'm Melissa Natanson, and I am joined by a colleague of mine today, Elizabeth Casas. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Melissa, how are you? I'm very happy
I'm
to be
doing
here and
well.
have a little bit of a chat with you.
Yes, this is exciting. I'm glad that I finally got to have you on. You're also a certified professional canine nutritionist, correct?
I am, yes.
That is so exciting. So, Elizabeth, tell me a little bit about your background and why you got into being a certified holistic pet health coach. I know we were kind of talking earlier that you have had quite the journey with your cat Lumiere.
Yes, this is a long story in time, but not really in the story. It started about 7 years ago, almost 6, 7 years ago. Engineer by background, I never really thought about nutrition, but my cat Lumiere, all of a sudden he was 4 years old and he got really sick. He was usually a very outgoing cat. Like he's out there. He's like a dog. He would come and greet you. He would sit on your lap. But all of a sudden he was under a chair. He was just really miserable. And my son, who was very observant, he loves that cat. He told me, we need to do something. Lumiere is suffering. So we took Lumiere to the vet. And what they said was he has pancreatitis. And, the first question is why? Like, how does that happen? What was really frustrating at the time is that the veterinarian just said to me, I don't know. We don't know the reasons why pancreatitis happens. They just happen. So he needs to stay overnight and we're going to check him. He's dehydrated. Of course, they feel pain, so they don't eat and they're vomiting. And it's not very comfortable for them. So they gave him fluids and keep him over a couple of nights. And then after they told me, okay, he seems to be doing better. He's eating. So you can take him home. And they sent me with a prescription diet for pancreatitis and an anti-nausea pill and said, okay, he should be fine. So you go home, right? You're all armed with all these tools that are supposed to save your cat. And he didn't really like the food, but he was kind of eating it and picking at it.
And this was a kibble, correct?
No, it was a can, so it was a wet food,
okay.
Which was really expensive too.
It's very expensive.
Right. I think it was like a can. It was $100 or $95 for a little can. So a couple of days like 3 to 5 days later, he just started the same, throwing up and not eating. And, his hair stops shining and he just starts getting worse and worse. Took him back to the vet and they said, okay, he needs to get fluids again. We're going to keep him in until he can eat. Then they call me a couple of nights later and say, actually, Lumiere is not getting any better. And all we can do is keep him comfortable until he passes. He's 4, like he's very young, right? He's not a kitten, but he's 4. He's in the prime of his life. He's never had issues. Like, how is this happening?
And that's devastating. That's devastating to think that your 4-year-old cat has no other options besides a prescription diet and some fluids.
No other options, but the thing is you trust it and you do it and it still doesn't work. And then they just give you no hope. There's nothing you can do. And I get it. I mean, things happen and animals and people do get sick, but this just seemed really not right. So what I decided to do is I am from Latin America and my mom, she's always trying to heal everything with teas and herbs and food.
Love your mom.
And I've been doing kind of the same. And I thought maybe there's something, if I call someone in Colombia, they give me a different perspective. So I took him out of the vet. They're like, he's going to get worse. I'm like, okay, I'll figure that out. What's worse than just keep him uncomfortable until he dies? Like, what's worse than that? So I called a veterinarian. He's a feline specialist in Latin America. He's Colombian. And I send him the blood work and I send him the urine sample. And he said, yeah, that's definitely pancreatitis. Do the following. And I love his approach because it was a combination of traditional veterinary medicine with holistic approach of food. So he said, keep the anti-nausea medication to help his body keep the food in. And then boil some chicken breast so he doesn't have a lot of fat, and give him probiotic yogurt. And I went and did that and he started getting better. And at first he wasn't eating, but I put some probiotic yogurt in his nose and he would just, by reflex just had to lick it. And he started really liking it. And then he just started getting better and better. And he never had another pancreatitis issue again after that. He lived to be almost 11 after
Fantastic.
that.
And he didn't go from pancreatitis.
He did not. He did not have pancreatitis again. And since then, I started, there wasn't a lot of information, but I started looking around, asking my veterinary friend, what do I feed him? So Lumiere started eating only cooked food. And what my friend told me was, what kind of food are you giving him? And I told him, and he said, well, that's not very good. That's why he got pancreatitis. It's too heavy. And so it's too much fat. So it was definitely, there was a reason. He gave me a reason and he gave me a path. And the path worked. And so I started cooking for my kitty. And then when I got Felipe, who's a rescue, he's a little Chihuahua, who's a little pain in the butt, but I love him. And he's been eating cooked food all his life. And now I started being a holistic pet health coach. I decided to certify as a canine nutritionist so that I can not only, research, but do something with real information from people who know, like Dr. Ruth. And it's been fantastic. They just did amazing.
Hi, Felipe. I'm glad that you joined.
He needs to be he loves it.
It's amazing the difference that can be made when we have fresh food that's either raw or gently cooked, or we're always big advocates of Dr. Ruth's crock pot diet. I like to kind of share my own story with my Yorkie Darla, who had IBD and all sorts of things going on. And vets told us that we would need to have her on medication and steroids for the rest of her life. And I just couldn't accept that. So like you, I started digging and dug in, started studying canine nutrition, and I've been making her food for 12 years now. And she is now 15. So the power of fresh food is big and it's bold, and it really can make the best difference in our pets. I like to always go back to, it's about the cellular energy. If we're feeding their cells the right base and the right amino acids and the right stuff to power the organs and power the body, then that's how we get healthy pets.
Absolutely. So if you're giving them the right things, their bodies are able to take care of a lot of things.
Right. So do you remember the day, how did you come across Dr. Ruth's program?
So I actually stopped working. I'm an engineer. I've been working in insurance and data analytics for 22 years, but I stopped working in May and I decided to take a break. A lot of things happened, life related, and I thought, you know what, I need a break. And I like to start volunteering and fostering. And of course, that's the way internet works. You start Googling one thing and it starts giving you things. And so I was volunteering at the Houston SPCA for animals, and I was fostering as well. And then as I was looking for all these things, Dr. Ruth course came up, and it was just the perfect moment for me. And I thought, you know what, I've been doing this on my own. My animals are doing really well. Can they do better? Can I help others as well? Because I was doing it for myself, but I didn't feel I could be telling anyone else how to do it. So once I did the certification, which was really fun, and I dug in and I spent, I think I finished it pretty quickly because I loved every course and I was so intensely going through it. And when I finished it, then I was able to help other people. And so what I do now is I like to do workshops to bring awareness and education. So I do my workshops to tell people about, what pet food is. I don't like to kibble shame because different people are in different places, and especially because I work with shelters and they get donations. So help them learn how to read labels and choose maybe different things, how to add fresh food in little bits and make it easy, because people believe it's very complicated. And sometimes when you see Instagram accounts where they show this raw feeder feeding all these things with colors and weird things, it's like, that looks very difficult.
Look complicated if people think they have to add a turkey neck and a duck foot and,
right.
this amount
and the pig ear and,
Right. It can look very, or fur, it can look very complicated, but we've learned that there's an easy way to make fresh food for our pets. And it's amazing the things and that we've noticed and seen. If you'll just take note, Elizabeth's website is on the screen right now if you'd like to check out more of what Elizabeth does. And in addition to, if you are interested in becoming a certified holistic pet health coach, please see that in the comments. And I know that the program is always looking for up and coming talent who have a desire and a passion to help people and their pets. So now that you're helping others, what have you learned and what do you feel like Lumiere has taught you through this process?
That is a very deep question. And we talked about it, and it's one of those things, like, I've always loved my pets, but unfortunately, I don't know if it happens to others, but you realize how much they give you once they're gone, unfortunately. And I've never lost a pet before Lumiere. Lumiere died from heart failure in October, so less than 2 months ago.
Great. I'm so
and thank you. That was very hard.
I know it's still really raw for you, and thanks for being brave and talking about it.
Thank you. The hardest part is I feel so guilty because he had become just such a staple in the house that you don't notice it anymore. Like, he was just around. You know what I mean? He was there. I knew he was there. It just became someone who was there. And what I learned from him, well, what I learned is that our animals come to teach us so much in such a deep soul level. And hopefully now I know that, and I'll be able to do that with Felipe. But with Lumiere, what happened was I've always been a little reserved when it comes to relationships with people, and not with animals, but with people. And
That's easier.
That's easier. So I've always been very reserved, sort of like closing doors and, something like that. And Lumiere was, I'm sure it's not only Lumiere, but Lumiere was very annoying overnight. Like, he wouldn't let me sleep. He would be playing all over. As soon as I turned the light off, he would be playing with everything around me. He would not do that to my kids. He would do it only to me. So when I was traveling, he would sleep fine. He would be perfect. They would tell me, I don't know why you say he's annoying, because he didn't bother me. He would just bother me. And what happened was,
I have to ask the cat question.
Yes.
Did you wake up to the barfing noises at night?
He wouldn't barf. He would just play with flowers and play with my hair, and he would just not let me sleep. So I would close the door.
Other cat people, because that's my current
yes. No, he was actually never having those issues, but he didn't want me to sleep. And I was very annoyed. I was working in corporate. I'm like, I need to sleep, and you don't have patience. And
right.
Now I regret all this. But so I would close the door and leave him outside, and then he would scratch and scratch and scratch. So what I ended up doing was every night I would put him in this office and close the door. He would have water and his litter box and everything, but he would be in here all night. That was the only way. And I was like, that's what's happening, because I need to sleep. And when I found out he had heart disease, one of the things I wanted to stop for him was stress. So I thought, I don't care if I sleep. I wasn't working. So I'm going to leave the door open. So I left this door open and my bedroom door open. And Lumiere would just lay next to me and sleep. He would not bother me. And I was talking, after he died, I was talking to one of my close friends in Colombia, and I told him that story. And he said, you know what? Lumiere left once he had told you to open doors. Open doors to people and to feelings.
Yeah.
And he did his job.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, that has a deep and profound meaning on a lot of levels.
It does. He was teaching me patience and caring and opening up to my feelings and to people.
I think that there is a movement in general where we are learning more about our animals and learning more about the connections with our animals. And I know so many that are listening right now had an experience that they have learned lessons from, that it's bittersweet, it's heartbreaking to think about, but it's changed you fundamentally who you are.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes the certified holistic pet health coaches so special. Because Elizabeth, your heart is shining through right now, and people can see how much you loved Lumiere and how much you love Felipe and will love their pets the same way. And going back to so many of the holistic pet health coaches have had such a profound journey and tough lessons, heartbreaking lessons. But the reason we're doing what we're doing is because we don't want others to have to go through that or help them learn the lessons that we had to learn the hard way. And with Lumiere, there's nothing you could have done different. You did everything right. You were a great cat mama and you learned some lessons from him. But we like to share our knowledge so that somebody else has a guide. I know when I was going through a lot of stuff with Darla, I felt hopeless. Like I had no guide, like I had no one to help. And thank goodness you had your vet from Colombia that helped kind of put you on the right track.
Right. Or else I would have lost Lumiere 7 years ago almost. That was way too soon.
Right. Yeah. And to touch on that, like you said, we don't necessarily want to shame kibble. We'd like to encourage fresh feeding all the time, but it's the same as there's no shame on vets either. We need our vets. We need the connection with them. We need the diagnostics. But the bottom line is they are amazing at doing what they're doing. They have to be anesthesiologists and dentists and orthopedists and internists all at the same time. What they're not is nutritionists. And that's where we can help.
That's where it's a good collaboration. So I also don't like to think about it's all or nothing, because there's a lot of people who are, if you're doing veterinarian medicine, you can do holistic. If you're going holistic, you can't go to traditional veterinarian, which is completely wrong. The holistic wellness helps you in a path to transform your body and feed your body so that it can do what it needs to do. But if you had an emergency, if you need the medicine at the moment, for example, nobody likes Cytopoint or Apoquel. Nobody does. But if you need it to make them feel better while you work on their gut microbiome and you worked on all their issues with their skin, then do it. It's just a matter of learn when and how to use both and collaborate. And that's what I liked about Lumiere, right? It was, yes, keep giving him his traditional anti-nausea, but then help his gut and his pancreas and everything heal with proper nutrition. And that's what I try to do with Felipe now as well.
Right. Elizabeth, what do you feel like your specialty is? What is your favorite thing to help people with?
What is my favorite thing to help people with? I really enjoy educating and empowering pet parents to make decisions like I had to. So I like to give them the right tools, starting with nutrition. So all about transitioning to the crock pet diet. And that has led me into working a lot with a couple of things. One is allergies. So that's a huge one. There's a lot of allergies. There's a lot of itching. There's a lot of gut issues. I know.
What's at the bottom of all allergies? Let's say it again.
It's the gut, right?
Yes!
The gut.
The microbiome is
the biggest problem.
Allergy issues.
Exactly. But that also, it goes into better nutrition. So transitioning to the right foods, it goes into allergies, and then it goes to everything that has to do with skin. So alopecia. So everything that is with like the dysbiosis is where I've been kind of focusing mostly and making that easy for pet parents that have never done it.
Yeah.
So it's just that education and empowerment that I like to do.
And are you doing classes?
I am doing the workshops that I mentioned earlier. So I do a couple of workshops a month. I'm thinking about doing maybe some online. I'm still looking into what's the best way to get out there. But locally in Houston, I do go to shelters and they host me to do different workshops and different classes. So that's fun.
That's amazing that the shelters are welcoming you in to do those classes. What a great foundation to give new pet parents or new adoptive pet parents. You're like, here's a solid diet to go home with.
Yes. And people are scared of it, right? The first time I go to one of my workshops, they always say, but can they actually eat that? Or is it really that hard? I don't want to be cooking all day. I don't want to be doing breakfast. I don't even cook for myself. How would I cook for my pet? And what I love the most is their faces when you tell them, no, you just put everything in a crock pot and it's ready. And no, it doesn't have to be only cooked. It can be a combination. The best thing I've learned from Dr. Roberts and everything that we do is that you do what's best for the pet in front of you. There's no hard lines. There's no, silos. You do this or it's wrong. It's like, let's look at your animal and feed the animal in front of you. That's what you do. If at Felipe specifically, I do both. I do a combination of raw and cooked.
Yeah, and it's whatever works for that pet, just like you said.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to mention again, if anybody is interested in becoming a certified holistic pet health coach, there are links in the comments to that. Dr. Ruth does hold webinars where you can find out more and pick her brain about what it's like, what the course is like. And I will tell you that when I joined the course, I was a little hesitant because I'd been studying canine nutrition for a while, and I was worried that I wouldn't learn anything new. Boy, was I wrong. It was a fantastic course, and there's continuing education every day. One of the other things that we like to talk about here is how great it is that we have such a spectacular team. This is a group of amazing individuals, brilliant individuals with passion, and all of us kind of have their own niche. Elizabeth loves to work on allergies and making food that's easy. Everybody kind of has their own different specialty, and we work together, and we have the backing of Dr. Roberts, and we have the backing of each other, right?
That's one of the things that I tell people. We are not just the one and done course, like the continuous education, the support system. You don't just get one pet health coach, because if we have a complex situation, I will go with you, we will go to Dr. Ruth. We talk amongst each other because we all have different experiences and expertise. So you don't just get one person, you get a community of people, which I love.
Yeah. And every week we're talking with Dr. Roberts, and every week we have more continuing education, and it's almost like, I feel like sometimes the more I know, the more questions I have, but we're striving to be lifetime students, right?
Exactly. And you learn something new with new pet parents that you work with. I'm in a 20-year program with Felipe. He shifts his needs every few months. He's a very sensitive little puppy. And so I'm learning with him, I'm learning with my customers, and I'm learning with you guys as well. And I learned a lot with Lumiere. He was an easy kitty. He transitioned to food very easy. Some kitties take forever, but he taught me a lot about nutrition and about health and pancreatitis and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, we are going to have a little bit shorter Coaches Collab today, so we have about 5 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, now's the time to shoot them at Elizabeth, and let's see what her answers are. In the meantime, 2 things, Elizabeth. Do you want to do pet perks and pet peeves? Or we can do rapid fire pet perks and pet peeves.
Ooh, what's the difference?
Nothing. Just I'm putting you in the hot seat and you have to answer quick.
Do whatever you feel like doing, and then if I mess up, then
before we get there, is there anything left that you would want people to know about you and about your passion for pets and why you're doing this?
Yeah, the most important thing is that there's no judgment and there's no wrong way. If you love your pet, you're doing the best you can, and just reaching out to us to learn and to do things a little better makes you an even better parent. But there's no judgment and there's no shaming on what you do. We're all doing the best we can with the information that we have. And we all know that if you love an animal, you're already a pretty good person.
That's right. That's right. And is it okay if we like animals more than people sometimes? I mean, I love people, but
I love animals more than people, except that Lumiere is teaching me to open doors, but hey. It's a process.
I was thinking about that after you told me that. It really was, even though it was a simple statement, it was pretty profound. And I think that message is going to stick with you.
Oh, forever.
As you go on. Okay, real quick. Rapid fire, pet perks, pet peeves. Pet perks is something that you absolutely love in the pet world that you can't do without. Pet peeves is if could wave a magic wand. oh, look, my sleeves are going, and wipe it off the face of the earth. That's what it'd be. You can have 1, you can have 10 pet perks.
What I love most about the pet world, this
Could
is
be a
gonna
product.
be so tough. Pets, their love and their unconditional connection, and how they love you no matter how imperfect you are and how many mistakes you make. Is that something I could never live without? Like, the love of my dog is just so needed for me. Is that not what I'm supposed to say?
You know what? I've actually never gotten that answer before, and it's the obvious one.
I don't know.
I love it. Okay, pet peeves.
Pet peeves, that idea that
That really irks you.
something that really bothers me is when people say, because you are a holistic pet health coach, you don't believe in veterinary medicine. That's a pet peeve. That bothers me deeply, because I love veterinaries and I love what they do for our animals. And so that bothers me. I do not like, I'm going to copy one you told me, because I really don't like it, especially after Lumiere, but the food, the prescription diets, they are rubbish. Sorry.
They are. It's okay. I mean, we can talk about that. And that's part of our, like you said, you like to educate. And part of your education is we know that prescription diets are, like you said, they're junk. And they may put a Band-Aid on the condition for a little while, but at the end of the day, they're not going to give your pets the cellular energy that they need to thrive. All that pressure processing going on. I think that's really, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think it's an important point to make.
Yeah. So that's my biggest pet peeve.
Right. Well, and I think that's part of what we're doing, why we're talking about this today and going forward, because we want to set the record straight that we absolutely need and love our vets. But as we move forward, just like it is in humans, I think overall, for the best health possible, we need an integrative approach. And by the way, feeding fresh food, in my opinion, is not integrative or holistic. It is just
normal.
It's what it should be.
Yes, it's normal.
Feeding fresh food doesn't make you holistic or integrative. That's just what it should be. When we say don't feed people food, it means don't feed them tacos. But chicken and hamburger or turkey or rabbit or whatever is just fine.
It is
fine. What's your favorite protein, Elizabeth, before we go?
Say that again?
What's your favorite protein to feed before we go?
My favorite, well, Philippe is allergic to a lot of them, so I can only give him tilapia and turkey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, sensitive. I think he's sensitive to turkey and pork and all others. Yeah. Not turkey, pork and beef. Yeah.
Well, you're doing amazing things, Elizabeth, and it's been fun to watch your journey. Thank you for sharing your heart and your knowledge with us today. I know that you've had some tough lessons this year, and it's been tough with Lumiere, but they have made you part of who you are today, and you're doing awesome. And anybody who'd like to work with Elizabeth, again, her website is in her comments, and you would be lucky to work with her because she is awesome.
I really appreciate it. And I had fun. This was awesome.
This is fun. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday. We're going to take off a little bit early today. So have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful Friday. And as always, positive vibes.
Bye.